Good morning, Year 3, Miss Joinson here, and today we're going to be reading Chapter 6 of Gangsta Granny, Cold Wet Egg. This Friday night would have been just as spectacularly dull as the last if Ben hadn't remembered to bring his magazine with him this time. Once again, Mum and Dad dumped their only child at Granny's. As soon as he arrived, Ben rushed past her into his cold, damp little room, shut the door, and read his copy of the latest Plumbing Weekly from cover to cover. There was an amazing guide with lots and lots of colour photographs showing how to install the new generation of combi boilers. Ben folded over the corner of the page. Now he knew what he wanted for Christmas. Once he'd finished the magazine, Ben sighed and headed to the living room. He knew he couldn't stay in his bedroom all evening. Granny looked up and smiled when she saw him. "Scrabble time!" she exclaimed cheerily, holding up the board. The next morning the air was thick with silence. "Another boiled egg?" said Granny, as they sat in her run-down little kitchen. Ben didn't like boiled eggs, and hadn't finished his first one yet. Granny could even ruin food this simple. The egg would always come out all watery, and the soldiers were always burnt to a cinder. When the old lady wasn't looking, Ben would flick the egg gloop out of the window with his spoon and hide the soldiers behind the radiator. There must be a whole platoon of them back there by now. "No thanks, Granny, I'm completely full," replied Ben. "Delicious boiled egg, thank you," he added. Murmured the old lady, unconvinced. "It's a bit nippy. I'm just going to put another cardigan on," she said, even though she was already wearing two. Granny trundled out of the room, quacking as she went. Ben flicked the rest of his egg out the window and then tried to find something else to eat. He knew that Granny had a secret stash of chocolate biscuits that she kept on top of a shelf in the kitchen. Granny would give Ben one on his birthday. Ben would also help himself to one from time to time when his Granny's cabbage-based delicacies left him as hungry as a wolf. So he quickly slid his chair over to the cupboard and stood on it to reach the biscuits. He lifted the biscuit tin. It was a big silver Jubilee assortment tin from 1977 that featured a scratched and faded portrait of a much younger Queen Elizabeth II on the lid. It felt really heavy, much heavier than usual. Strange. Ben shook the tin a little. It didn't feel or sound like it had biscuits inside. It was like it had stones or marbles in it. Even stranger. Ben unscrewed the lid. He stared. And then he stared some more. He couldn't believe what was inside. Diamonds! Rings, bracelets, necklaces, earrings, all with great big sparkling diamonds. Diamonds, diamonds, and more diamonds. Ben was no expert, but he thought there must be thousands of pounds worth of jewellery in the biscuit tin, maybe even millions. Suddenly he heard Granny quacking her way into the room. Fumbling desperately, he put the lid back on and placed the tin on the shelf. He leaped down, yanked his chair over, and sat at the table. Glancing at the window, he realised that his flicked egg hadn't gone out into the garden, but was smeared across the glass. Granny would need a blowtorch to get that off if it dried. So he rushed over to the window and sucked the cold, wet egg off the glass, then returned to his seat. It was too unpleasant to swallow, so in a panic, Ben kept it in his mouth. Granny shuffled back into the kitchen, wearing her third cardigan, still quacking. "Better get your coat on, young man. Your mummy and daddy will be here in just a tick," she said with a smile. Ben reluctantly swallowed the cold, wet egg. It slipped down his throat. Yuck, yuck, and double yuck. "Yes," he said, fearing he would vomit and deposit the egg back on the window. Scrambled. Okay, so that was the last part of chapter 6 for you. Okay, so you can see chapter 7 on there, but we're going to read that tomorrow. All right then, so your task today then, Year 3, is you have got to do a prediction. Okay, so Ben has just found a biscuit tin full of sparkling diamonds. Your task today is to make a prediction on where you think the jewels came from and how they ended up in Granny's biscuit tin. Remember to use all of the evidence you have and explain why you think something might happen. Okay, so there you go. There's the task again there for you with today's date at the top. All right, so let's go on to this page. So what evidence have we found so far to help us write a prediction? Okay, so let's see. So let's just make this a bit smaller. Here we go. And I'm going to change the colour as well so we know that this is our evidence. Okay, so evidence so far. So where do we think these diamonds have come from and why are they in Granny's biscuit tin? So I've got perhaps because she reads gangster and crime books, maybe she is a criminal, perhaps. Okay, I'm going to put these in bullet points actually so we can see a bit better. There we go. Okay, there's my first point. Right then, Granny also likes to tell Ben stories, doesn't she? Even though Ben thinks that he's too old for them. So perhaps she tells the stories because she is actually living the story in real life. Yeah, so maybe the story isn't actually a story, maybe it's just her life. Oh, now what have I done here? Let's go back again and then put there we go. Okay. Now, Granny always asks Ben to go to bed early, doesn't she? Yeah. So maybe she makes Ben go to bed early so she can sneak out to steal jewellery. Yeah, maybe. I'm just going to move this up here so we've got some more space. There we go. Oh, now it doesn't want to type. There we go. Okay, so you are going to today be making a prediction on where you think the jewels have come from and how they ended up in Granny's biscuit. Okay, so remember when we predict, we need to explain why we think something is going to happen or why we think the jewels have ended up in Granny's biscuit tin. Okay, so you need to tell me why the jewels are in Granny's biscuit tin. Okay, and you also need to tell me why Granny, where they've come from. So where the jewels have come from. You need to tell me why you think where the jewels have come from. Okay, so remember when we do a prediction, we need to make sure it's a sensible prediction about what could happen. Okay, well, where these jewels have come from. We need to make sure we start off with I predict. Okay, and that can be your prediction today. All right, so you are predicting where you think the jewels have come from and how they ended up in Granny's biscuit tin. Okay, so two different parts using the evidence that we've already read. Okay, so you might want to go back and watch some of the videos of the other chapters and find out some more evidence. All right, so have a wonderful day, and I know myself, Mr. Grocott, I'm really looking forward to listening and reading your predictions. Okay, any help that you need or if you're a bit stuck and you're not sure what to do, please email us and we will always help you. Okay, so we might even send you an own personalised video to show you how to do something if you're not sure. All right, so have a fantastic day and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye.